everyone, welcome to the SIGA Wow Show. Howdy, or shall I say wowdy? That's right, we're back on the first Wednesday of every month, and what a lineup I've got for you today. Our 6th episode is dedicated to an amazing topic that's close to my heart, the winning mindset. Why be average when you can be alpha? That question says it all. How do you set a goal, stick to it, when you have never done it before? How do you remain strong and single-minded when you are booed in front of your competitors, told you are physically wrong shape to achieve your dream, or your commitment to the sport is doubted? Today, I speak to 4 very real women, 4 female leaders that have smashed the gender glass ceiling. They're from the UK, US, and Germany, and they've achieved a different path to the average and the ordinary. And we're going to do the show in 2 parts today. And to kick off, I'm joined by 2 fierce female leaders that have broken the mold to compete in their chosen sport, bodybuilding and basketball, the 2 Bs, and used it to inspire other women around the world. We have Redmilla Turner, former pro champion basketballer who has successfully transitioned from an athlete to work at FIBA, the International Basketball Federation, and Claire Johnson, who's known as the Naked Warrior, who's a fitness, nutrition and mindset coach who previously competed as a bodybuilder as well. And she may be making her debut again next year, so watch this space. And I'm going to go straight in and ask Redmilla the first question. Redmilla, you competed as a basketballer professionally. What was the biggest challenge when you committed to your dream of being a female athlete?
The biggest challenge was actually to organize myself, to organize my time, to fit everything in and all my dreams in the sport, but also outside the sport, and to make sure that at the same time I have a social life. So from a younger age, the biggest challenge, if you like, was to combine predominantly my education with my travels and the hard work on the basketball court. With the time, of course, this started to change, and different challenges started to occur and appear, and the balance, creating a better balance in my life was even more important, and fitting my personal life in it. So initially, it's my desire to reach the top of my sport, and yet at the same time, to achieve other things outside of it.
That balancing act is really challenging, obviously, and one which makes, it goes from the amateur to takes you to the professional. It's that dedication, it's that commitment. And just to say, I'm loving the golden ball behind you today. So thank you for the great scenery. Do you think you got as much support as your male counterparts? And is there a shift in attitude from society to how they view professional female athletes?
In general, it's a little bit more difficult for the female athletes, and it has been over the years. And it's all linked to the, if you like, the marketing part of the sport, the financial part of the sport, what money comes into the women's sport. And in most cases, for the female athletes, even when they're professional, it is very hard to, if you like, set for life for those 10, 12 years, 15 years when you can be a professional athlete, while in our male counterparts often can actually secure a lot better financial future for themselves. And this is why quite often the women have to make those choices to combine education and sport, or even often to combine, if you like, part-time professional career with education or part-time job. So in my case, it varied. As a young athlete, I was very well supported, and even at the beginning of my professional career. And then, of course, I realized when moving from country to country that this attention and this support is not quite the same. And it for sure is a different level. But I have to say that lately, in the last few years, there is a positive change in that direction. At least the attention is more into that direction, and we should be able to use the opportunity to build, if you like, stronger networks and to provide better opportunities for the female athletes in general to commit to this as career in sports.
That's really encouraging to hear, Redmilla, that you think that the tide is turning and that there's more support out there. And we do have 4 gift giveaways during this episode. Redmilla, tell us and our global audience how they can win the awesome FIBA ball, which is signed, and the FIBA Women in Basketball book 2020. What is the giveaway question? Number one.
So the giveaway question is, which female basketball player won the MVP, which means the most valuable player, of the 2021 FIBA Women's Eurobasket Championship and retired at the end of this summer?
Thank you, Red Miller. Send us your answers in the live chat. I will read out during the show who won. And please follow us at SIGA Alliance, hashtag SIGA Women, hashtag SIGA Wow. Now, moving on to Claire. Claire, you used to look longingly at women's fitness magazines and admire the bodybuilders and their physiques. What motivated you just before your 30th birthday to say, right, that's it, I'm going to do it. It's now my turn to get up on the stage and strut my funky stuff and show the world who Claire Johnson is, the Naked Warrior. What turned your mindset to commit to that amazing dream and ambition?
I didn't want to be one of these people who said, I'm going to do this, or I want to do this. You know, I always had this burning desire to do it. And I thought, if I don't do it now, when will I do it? And it was all about just making that decision and then committing and saying, yes, now's the time, set the date of when I'm going to do it, have my end point, and now let's put into practice and into plan what I'm going to do to get there.
And what held you back before? And how did you lose the limiting belief that you couldn't do it?
I guess because I didn't know how. So once I'd made the decision, you know, it opened my eyes up. I thought, okay, so I've now decided, let's go and find the federation that's local to me that I can compete in. I contacted the federation, asked them for a trainer, and they put me in touch with the local trainer who helped prep me and coach me to get up onto stage. So before, I guess my burning desire wasn't really that great because I didn't then go make those steps to go and do it. But once I did given myself this deadline, and you know, integrity is one of my highest values. If I say I'm going to do something, I have to go and do it. And once I'd said it, I was like, right, I can't be one of those people who's a should or a gonna or a woulda. So I had to go and do it.
I love that. I love the fact that you just said, right, this is it, I'm going to do it. And I think for many of us, we always can use an excuse. It's always, well, tomorrow or next time. And certainly I would love to become a bodybuilder at some point in my life. What a challenge. And reading the book, The Winning Physique, age isn't a barrier. So women out there, we can all become bodybuilders. We just need to decide at some point whether we can actually get ourselves and forget to you know, get those the nice and the nice treats put to one side and focus on the good diets, which we can all do with a bit of winning. Claire, share with our global audience your question with a chance to win your book, The Winning Formula, which where you interview 4 women to see how they manage success. I'm interviewing one later in the show, Rebecca Schnell. Tell us what the question is.
So my question for the copy of The Winning Formula is, I help women and I focus on training, nutrition, and what else? There's one other thing that I help women with.
Brilliant. I may have mentioned it at the start. So if you missed the start, watch it again, watch it on demand. And please send us your answers in the live chat at SIGA Alliance. Follow us, hashtag SIGA Women, hashtag SIGA Wow. Claire, in your current role, how do you help women find their fierce and achieve their ambitions, not just physically, but mentally?
Absolutely. So it's all about helping women get connected back to their self-belief and understanding what they're capable of and not letting themselves get in their own way by their limiting beliefs, their self-sabotaging behavior. So I work with women initially on their physical goals and their health and nutrition goals to help them have small wins, which are then going to help them feel more confident, make them feel more able and increase their self-belief. And, you know, when a woman looks good and she feels good about herself, she just has this fire that is ignited, and, you know, she can then go out and find her fierce. And once we have these small little wins along the way, it's like, okay, what else can we do? So it's getting them connected back to their passion and their purpose and helping them get connected to what lights them up and brings them joy.
I love that. I saw, Red Miller, you were nodding. What's your take on the kind of mind and body and how it fits together as a winning formula to achieve success both as an athlete, but also later on in your career as an administrator?
I think it's crucially important. And this is one of the benefits of being an elite athlete. Is number one is the discipline. When you're an athlete, you have to be disciplined, and you follow obviously certain schedule, you follow certain diet, you just want to be the best. So this really fits quite nicely into it. And of course, the mindset, you have to work also, it's a body and mind, because the competition itself is extremely important. So you have to really have both in a nice sync to be successful. And then if you're able to transfer this, when you get out of the professional sport with the dynamics of it, with the high pace, competing constantly, if you can actually adjust and take the best out of it, but still keep the discipline and the positive mindset and keep working on yourself, then you can transition really successfully in that.
Well, you are an example of an athlete who has transitioned successfully, not just to any sport, it's the sport you love, basketball. You've lived it, you've breathed it, you've played it, and now you're working and you're shaping the future of women's basketball and basketball around the world. What did you find the most challenging and difficult aspect of transitioning from the athlete role to your current role now?
At the beginning, when I kind of transitioned, which is now a couple of decades ago, a while ago, it was exactly that part, to adjust to the different lifestyle. When you used to be a professional athlete, you also have a lot of spare time. You don't have the long working hours, you don't have the administration, necessarily the administration needs, etc. So initially, the first few years, this was the most difficult to really adjust to that. And even you often ask the questions, number one, am I going to be good at this? And then number two, what skills do I need to develop? Because clearly there are slightly different skills that you require in both. So I think these were the main challenges. And now I'm trying to develop various programs together with my colleagues. A few of them are former athletes like myself, and try to pass this knowledge and support to the younger generation of players who are now going through the same. And even those who are even younger, who potentially will get to that level. So they have to start planning their future, develop certain skills, and again, test different things while you're still an athlete, in order to know what you definitely, not just what you really aspire to do after you stop being a professional athlete, but what you do not want to be, because unless you test different things when you're in your late 30s or early 40s, it may be a bit too late to experiment. So our advice to them is develop new skills, keep your options open, test a lot of things, but for sure, try to transfer your leadership, your discipline, and your strong mentality into your future career. This is really crucial.
You've hit the nail on the head. It sounds like you are really paving the way for future athletes and giving that legacy back to other athletes to help them with the change, which is something our mentorship program, the SIGA Global Mentorship Program, touches on. It's about paving the way and creating leadership lanes for women in sport to ensure that we have greater pathways to enable the next generation to make their path easier to tread on. I know that, from a mentorship point of view, how important is it, Claire and Radmila, is mentorship? And have you had a mentor that's helped you in your careers?
So let Claire go first, then I follow.
Go for it, Claire.
Yeah, I've had mentors in many areas of my life, to be honest with you, people who I look up to, who I seek guidance on, whether or not it be from a business perspective or from a training for when I was competing as well, from that perspective. And I think it's very important that you find someone who you're aligned with, who you can communicate with, and who has walked the path that you're looking to walk as well, because they're going to be able to help you overcome those obstacles and hurdles along the way and have the right advice that's relevant to you and your journey.
Yes, I would fully support that. And I would say in my case, I've had a lot of great mentors at different stages of my life. And actually, I would also say that observation is very important. When you really like somebody and you really pay attention to how they behave, how they react to various situations. And again, I had mentors, both men and women, depending on what type of help I need and I require. And I would just like to say to people that it is very important to go and talk and ask people to be your mentor. If you really like and want to model yourself to somebody, they'll be surprised how often the support will be given. I just want to give one example, exactly when you transition from being a professional athlete to your professional career within the sporting structures. Quite often the athletes cannot tone down their passion, their enthusiasm. They just want to change everything right away, immediately. And this is often a negative because the athletes already have the big charisma and the big name, and they just have to really prepare the ground, if you like, for the changes they would like to make. And what one of my mentors told me not that long ago, only 4 or 5 years ago, is he said, yes, I know you have a lot of principles and a lot of values. Please don't throw them at people at every opportunity. And this is really something that I learned a lot from, in a way, just to learn, to find the right environment, do a little bit extra preparation. But this was a fantastic advice from somebody who actually went the same way, but maybe 15, 20 years before me, and learned their lesson. So this is something that now I'm trying also to pass to the others. Tone your passion, find the right way, still stay passionate, but listen to your mentors.
It's about a timing and a balance and sort of walking that tightrope, but ensuring that you remain committed to making that change. But as you said, not throwing that all in their face at once. I'd like to now play the video, which is from this summer's Women's Eurobasket, to remind us of the beautiful game of basketball.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Valencia, Spain.
Hello, and welcome to the beautiful city of Strasbourg, France. We are here for the 38th edition of the FIBA Women's Eurobasket Championships. Definitely deserve that hug, girl, because you played fantastic. There you see the attack. What a game! Anna Dabovic, a legend. And they got the job done. Winners of the 2021 FIBA Women's Eurobasket, and boy, did they deserve it.
Electrifying stuff. It makes me want to go and shoot some hoops for sure. Brad Miller, let's bring you back on screen, please. How do sports organisations create meaningful pathways for female leadership on the board? What programs do FIBA have in this regard? And tell me about the timeout program.
So first, I would like to talk a little bit about the current cycle of FIBA, the Global International Federation. One of the pillars in this cycle is actually women in basketball. And we are so excited about this, because this is not just about the athletes, the competition, not even just about the officials, and coaches, but it's about also developing future leaders and administrators. So during these 4 or 5 years, the focus is and will be predominantly on developing various programs. And I just would like to say that a lot of them are actually on our website as far as goals and our mission to achieve those. And part of that is here in Europe, we developed, in addition to the program for dual careers for athletes, which is called Time Out, and it was very successful, and we ran already this once. We also developed additional programs or additional parts of the Time Out 2.0, which focus on women in leadership. And also it's another part of the program, which is called Swish, and it's all about the integrity. So the women in leadership part, which we called We Lead, is about identifying and then working with a group of female different administrators. Some of them are already in leadership roles, working for about a year with them. And part of their program is actually a support by the academic institution, which is funny enough is the business school from Northumbria University, where you're based in UK. They have a great program on women in leadership, and also high-level speakers from all areas, business, administration, sport, media, communications, etc., that develop that program with them. We actually just graduated the first class only a few weeks ago. It was really, really exciting process. And what we intend to do now is to continue with this group and also add in others to our mentorship program. And I'm very happy that you mentioned how important the mentorship is. So for sure, we'll actually stay with this group. And just simultaneously, I would like to highlight the focus on encouraging, training, and retaining female officials and coaches. Again, this is a focus globally and also at FIBA Europe. So we have dedicated programs on that. So basically, just to summarize, what we're trying to do at the moment is to develop the structures and stronger pathways to reduce these barriers, which we know exist. But at the same time, we would like to prepare the people that should actually join those structures. Because if you just work on structures and then you're just searching for a woman to join, for example, certain commission, etc., then you end up putting women, if you like, to face each other and competing for one place. Instead, what we would like to do is to open up the structures to have stronger pathways and support systems, and to have women that are already successful in those supporting the younger generation. So hopefully we'll see the fruits of that in the next few years, but it's all very exciting.
Fantastic initiative, Radmila, and really an example of a governing body moving the needle to promote female leadership. And just want to say congratulations and a shout out to all those that graduated. And I do hope that you share the mentorship program with them. They're very welcome to apply, and stay tuned. We will be opening the mentorship program later this month, and I'm sure Radmila is going to be a mentor. She's nodding there and smiling, and certainly I know Claire has already committed to being a global mentor, along with many other mentors, including FIFA, MasterCard, and many others as well, UEFA hopefully as well. So stay tuned for that. I want to move on to a serious topic about sport and women's sport, and to an issue which is very much alive and a threat to women, which is the NWSL hitting the headlines this week for the wrong reasons, due to their poor management of the sexual assault allegations that put their female athletes at risk. Radmila, turning to you, did you expect a higher duty of care from a female commissioner? And obviously no sport is immune from these risks. How is basketball dealing with this threat? And also today, again, Football Australia has dealt with some more sexual allegations threatening them as well. What is your take on all of this?
So first I'll start with the question if a female leader, if you like, in an organization should react or should be a little bit more proactive. I would say perhaps the female leader should notice, or it's easier for her to notice, if you like, the signs of certain sexual assault or abuse, purely because of the understanding of how this works, because it's often, it may not be kind of seen or noticed by someone else. However, as far as the reaction, I do believe that it's absolutely equal responsibility for every person at any position to react. And it's all really linked to values. And what do you actually value more? Your personal career, because often people do not react in these situations to save their job, or because they think that this will be uncomfortable for the organization or it will look bad. But in most cases, it is really a personal choice. I would like to protect my position, my situation, and those that are close to me, rather than do the right thing. And then when we're talking about doing the right thing, of course, different people react in a different way in this situation. So here is I'm coming to the second part of your question. It's about the integrity of the organization. It's about rules and regulations, and it's about safeguarding everybody in this organization, from young athletes to everybody. And of course, the assault could be a sexual assault against the female, but equally it could be against the male, and any other sort of abuse. So I think what we do again as organization, but it's also part of the timeout program I already mentioned. We had also a part of that which was dedicated on integrity called SWISH. It's exactly about that. In that program, participants were employees of national federations, and the program was really very, very high level, and it was all about this, recognizing everything from abuse to match fixing to anything else which affects the integrity of the game and the organization, and then what steps are needed to be taken in order to fix that. So I think in general, we all are responsible, regardless of our position in organization or elsewhere, when we see something that is not right, to react to it. The question is, how do we react? And this is why, number one, we have to have a good education about this. We have to be aware of all policies and regulations, and then we need to know what is the reporting mechanism and how to go about that. So I think it is, again, going back to the values and to the actual structure of the organization and how to deal with an issue.
Thank you, Radmila, for that really clear answer. And I think what really struck me with your answer was the fact that, you know, women, if they're in a position of power, to balance between, you know, the professional ambition and achievements, which are obviously, you know, everybody has those ambitions and achievements, but not to let that stand in the way, really, of if there is an issue and that red flag, to make sure that you use your voice and your position to, you know, before it's too late. I think that came across really, really clearly. I want to move on to Claire to ask you about the sport of bodybuilding, Claire. On the one hand, it's empowering and it celebrates the female form shredded. And on the other hand, it encourage women to continue to be objectified? And what is the balance to ensure women's body image remains healthy and positive? And how do we focus on strong rather than just lean? These are big questions. And I know you're the lady for the job.
It's a subject I'm very passionate about. To be honest with you, it's about competing and doing it in a healthy way. So far too often I experienced other competitors up on stage with me, you know, that they'd get shredded really quickly and then they'd rebound, and then they'd have this roller coaster with their actual physical shape and their weight, and then they'd have health issues, which then led on to different mindset issues and, you know, some self-sabotaging behaviors. And the competitors that I saw, and with myself as well, when you have a healthy relationship with food and your body, and you've got that strong sense of self as well, and you've got the right support team around you, you can do it in a healthy way, and you can celebrate, you know, your successes as an individual rather than comparing yourself to others and being objectified. It's important to realize that, you know, what you're being judged on when you're up on stage, it is very subjective to the judges that are looking at you. And you are this, you know, if you like, want for a better word, a piece of meat on stage, and you're being judged for how you look. So it's understanding the dynamics of the sport and knowing what the judges are looking for, and just performing at your very best without getting any attachment to the, you know, the outcome for what they're saying. I remember one time I competed and I was told that I think I placed third, and apparently I would have won if my thighs hadn't been as fat, you know, and for a lot of people that might have been quite detrimental to their mental health and how they felt about themselves. But you have to take it with a pinch of salt, because I knew that, you know, I looked good and I'd worked hard, and I knew what the end outcome was. So whilst it's a very subjective sport, it's all about trying to be healthy and be a better version of yourself, which, you know, brings you back to my tagline, which you used at the start, which was great to hear. So, you know, using what you do in the gym from that physical perspective to make you strong physically and mentally, and then being proud of what you've achieved as well.
Thank you. I love the being the best version of yourself. I think that if we all strive to do that, we can unlock our inner leadership. We have got a question for you, Radmila, from Alicia McConnell, who's an inclusion leader and advisor. And she pointed out that in the video, it was interesting that there are cheerleaders in the video. What are your thoughts on cheerleaders? And I know they are a big part of many sports around the world.
So basically, it depends what type of cheerleaders or what type of dance it is. In general, during our competitions, we have a lot of entertainment on court because there are a lot of breaks, timeouts, time between quarters and half times, etc. So it's not just cheerleaders, there are different other forms of entertainment, for example, dunkers, even ballet and other sorts of things. So the entertainment is really focused on the spectators. So in many cases, they do actually research as what form of entertainment is required. And the cheerleaders in most cases are, if you like, kind of following the trends that was set in the States from the university sport. As you know, a lot of acrobatics and movement. Of course, there are some situations where the dance becomes a little bit too provocative maybe, or maybe it's not the right place. But in general, if it's all tasteful, if it's all a nice dance, then why not? So we don't have a major issue, but I have to say for our competitions, they're vetted, you know, by our company, all the dancing groups, etc. So yes.
Thank you for answering that question. And also just to say that the entertainment is absolutely phenomenal with the basketball. And I also do enjoy the kissing cam that goes round. As long as it's with your husband or the right person.
As long as it's not the right person.
If not, it can be rather embarrassing. Now we're going to go on to some video questions for you from our media partners. And the first one is Sarah Castro from US, who's one of our media partners, and she's all the way from Colombia. She's the director at US Colombia. Over to you, Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah Castro, Diario US Colombia director, a SIGA media partner. What do you think are the biggest challenges ahead for the next generation of female leaders in sports?
So who should answer first? Claire, you first, and then me, or?
Yeah, Claire first, and then Radmila.
I don't mind going first. So the question was the biggest challenges facing female leaders within sport. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's just about making sure that there's enough opportunities and that it's accessible for women. I'm currently quite heavily involved in motorsport when the percentage of females in motorsport is quite small. And so I'm helping and working with a couple of different organizations to educate younger women to see a career pathway. So it's, about educating at a younger level so that they can see the opportunities that are open to them and allowing more opportunities to happen. I think that's the biggest challenge. And if we can do that, then we will see more females in leadership roles within sport.
I think from my perspective, just looking in general, not in my sport, but in general, I think is the slowest, if you like, possible change is the changing of culture in general, because sport often is viewed as, if you like, the men's kind of sport. Even the female sports are often coached and run by men. So I think changing the culture and also building these pathways and preparing the women to build that confidence to actually step into these roles. Because what I notice quite often is that we really, when we talk to a certain person, certain woman that we know has the qualities, has the skills to take the role, quite often they don't have the confidence and they don't like the rejection to do that, because I say, well, I'll go there and I'll be ignored, or maybe I'll not have a voice, etc. So really changing the culture, it doesn't happen overnight. It's already a good start, and we have to all work together, not just individually in each sport and as person, but to work together to make this kind of movement stronger. And not to forget, we need the men to change the culture. So we should not do this just in isolation, just women changing culture for women, but the men have to also work with us to do that. And I think we're trying to do a lot of this in basketball. Even if you notice in NBA now, there is a big move of, if you like, hiring women into the men's clubs as assistant coaches, as managers, etc. So we do need to work together.
I'd like to thank you both for your brilliant answers and for your participation in this first half of SIGA Wow. But before I close and move to our second set of 2 interviews, can we cue the video question for Haresh Diol? He's the editor in 2213 in Malaysia. So you mentioned male champions. He's got 3 questions. So maybe you want to take the first one, Claire, then Radmila, and then Claire, and then we will move to part 2. But thank you so much for being our guest for this 6th edition of SIGA Wow. Over to you, Haresh.
Hi, I'm Harish Diol, editor of Kuala Lumpur-based news website 2213 and a proud SIGA media partner from Malaysia. I have 3 questions. Question 1. How do we ensure conversations about women empowerment and fair play between genders remain alive at all times? Question 2. Do young girls really need icons to inspire them, or just plenty of support from their parents? Question 3 and the last question. How do we empower young girls and women from nations where cultural and community issues prohibit them from progressing? Thank you. I look forward to your answers.
I may ask you to repeat one in case I forget, Claire. Go.
Yeah. We'll do our best, Harish, to answer all these. I think the first one, where do you want to go? Do you want to go to Claire or Radmila? The second one was on icons. Maybe that would be good for you as an athlete, Radmila.
So what was the question exactly? About inspiring younger players, or?
Yes, inspiring younger players. Do you need an icon? Do young girls need icons, or do we just need support from their parents?
I think they need both, but they need to inspire. They need to see what it looks like. They need this dream to be, of course, a realistic dream, but they would like really, I mean, I'm even going in my childhood. I also have a daughter who also plays sport professionally, etc. So I know what it's like when you're trying to make your choices in life. You need this inspiration, but we know very well that without the support of the parents, it's very difficult for the girls to actually play the sport, unless, and it falls into organizations like mine and the National Federation, to actually build something in every locality so the sport is accessible. The parental support is crucial, at least up to a certain age, to actually keep the commitment. So I think you need both, obviously at different stages. They're different. Quite often for the youngest kids, the inspiration is just maybe a player, an athlete who is from their club, maybe just a few years older, not necessarily the best player in the world, but they do need this inspiration, in my view.
Thank you, Radmila. Can we remember the third question? There was quite a lot to unpack.
No, the third question was very important.
Yes.
It's about women from different cultures and obviously the restrictions that they face into playing sport. And I know we deal quite often with issues related to that, less so in Europe, but I know worldwide they're typical. So I think this falls into trying to change structures, break barriers, educate, and as we say, change the culture. It doesn't happen immediately, but it's something that everybody have to work together. And I think it is about exactly inspiring, making the sport accessible, not be too fussy about what gear they wear or exactly how they play the sport, just to make it easy for them to be involved and to kind of promote the positive values of the sport. I know it's difficult, but it's everybody's goal to do this, to achieve this.
Brilliant. I think we're running out of time now. So thank you very much. And we're going to go to the part 2.
Thank you very much.
I'm absolutely thrilled to be joined by 2 very special guests from the United States These women are breaking the mold. First up, we've got Lauren Chamberlain, who just last week was announced as the first female commissioner of the Women's Professional Fast Pitch, the new official professional softball league in the US. And finally, Rebecca Schnell, Hot Wheel monster truck driver. Need I say more? Lauren and Rebecca, welcome to SIGA Wow, Women on Wednesdays. It's a pleasure to have you as our guests on the show. And I'm going to start by revving up the engine with you, Rebecca, pun intended. You actually started your career as a nurse. You then married your husband, who drove monster trucks, and started crewing with him. And it just struck me when I was reading this story about you. What was that light switch that went on in your head and then it clicked and made you think, I can do this? I can drive and compete and take on the men?
Well, Katie, thank you so much for having me here. And you know, to answer that question appropriately, I just got tired of working on all of his broken parts. I figured if I can work on this stuff, I sure can drive it too and be an inspiration to all these young men and women out here.
Fantastic, short and sweet. I'm going to bring Lauren into it now. Can you share with us, with our global audience, Lauren, your career journey? You've been a softball athlete. You're also a sports business entrepreneur with your own management consultancy. And now you're one of the, the top senior executive commissions in the US as the new commissioner. How did you make that journey and that jump?
Oh, to go from player to the other side has been incredible. And I think the biggest thing was that my mission has always stayed the same. And that's been to elevate women, especially softball players, give them a different situation and really raise the standard for women here in the United States playing softball. So it was seamless. It was hard at times, but it's all kind of making sense. And now to be the commissioner of WPF, Women's Professional Fast Pitch, it's exciting. It's kind of a full circle moment for me.
And what's been the reaction to your appointment?
Oh, personally, it's been great because people know how hard, I've worked behind the scenes to get to a position like this. But then also from the softball world, there's been such a gap in professional softball when we know that the NCAA Women's College World Series is the most exciting softball, sport across the board in the US. So to have that professional level back and get it to the place of thriving is going to be a task, but it's exciting.
And what motivates you and gets you out of bed every day to make the world a better place for women in sport?
The feelings that I felt as a player and what I wanted to change. I don't want a female athlete and especially a professional softball player to feel some of the things that I felt. So if I can go in, create that change, make a meaningful move towards progress, then I'm winning. That's getting me out of bed.
So thought leadership in action, really innovation and bringing about a cultural change and really leaving your legacy and mark on softball as a sport. What challenges exist for female athletes that do not exist for men, in your view, having played and now, running a new league?
I mean, do we have 3 hours to talk about that? There are so many, but if we had to really, hone in on one that I would say, we could do two: funding and visibility. So the biggest I would say is visibility. Communities and fans pull up when women's sports are shown. If you know that it's going to be broadcasted, there's a streaming platform, that they're going to be in town, it's proven that people show up for these games. So I think finding a consistent partner that can really push to have us visible throughout not only year to year, but actually have a long lasting, platform to see women's sports is important, but also funding. That gap in funding, you see the salaries flying for men and we will get there eventually. But right now it's just the funding to create a good product, to put the best softball players on the field. They have to have livable wages. And right now that's what we're fighting for. So I would say the two most important are visibility and funding.
I'd like to bring Rebecca back now into the discussion. On the topic of challenges, Rebecca, what challenges did you have to overcome to drive the monster truck physically and master the infamous van stack?
Physically, Katie, I'm a very tiny gal. I weigh about 135 pounds. That's about 64-ish kilograms. And I'm about 5'9". So it has been a struggle to get my frame into a truck seat safely so that there is lack of movement to prevent injury. One of the other things, as I think I've experienced most, is the the shock from the men. They're like, oh, this chick can get in here and drive this truck. I'm amazed all the time at the older gentlemen that are like, that I've never seen a female in a monster truck before, or let alone in the automotive industry.
So we're in year 2021, and both of you are the first females to be doing your chosen thing. I mean, I just find that absolutely incredible. What, any negative reactions? How have you dealt with them? Starting with you, Lauren, have you had any negativity? Has anyone commented on your age and that you're young to be doing what you're doing?
Yeah, I've gotten a few about the age. The good part was that our standing softball league that went for 15 years, the NPF, has recently folded, and that was a female commissioner. That was a woman at the helm. But age is something that I've always fought against, where I don't necessarily think that your age reflects your experience. You can have 28 years of life and have a bunch of experience bottled up, and that's what I think I bring to the table. So age would be the one thing, but I am up for the challenge. I've always liked to fight back, so I'm excited to do just that.
I totally agree. I think that age and leadership are two separate things. You can show leadership at any age, really. So I commend it, and I love the fact that you're young and vibrant and bringing in some new life into something that needs it. Rebecca, any negative responses when you first drove the truck? What was the reaction from the traditional monster truck fans?
Well, Katie, I made my debut driving the monster trucks actually over in the UK. And there was no negative response. There was so much excitement and so much thrill from all of the little boys and girls. It was quite entertaining that most of the boys would come around the front of my truck, and they were in awe that a female could do this too. Obviously, monster trucks is a very male-driven sport. And the best part about this story for me is that I've been behind the scenes for 10 years. I've worked on the monster trucks. I've done the crew part. I've done the dirty work. There are so many other wonderful females that I have been a part of being a friendship with that are behind those scenes. You don't see them very often. So it is a privilege for me to be coming to the front view, for them to be seen and to speak for them, because they are such hardworking individuals, and they put in and they make these shows what they are. And it's such an honor to do this for them.
And have you inspired other little girls to want to drive in the truck and trailblazing this new career path?
Absolutely. Every weekend we have a crash zone before our shows. And when they come up, they look and they're like, oh my gosh, you're a girl. Wow, what? A girl can drive these too. And I always make sure I stop and I pick out those children. I'm like, you guys, if your dreams aren't big enough, if your dreams aren't scaring you, they're not big enough. This truck weighs 10,000 pounds. It runs about 1,500 horses. If that doesn't scare you, nothing will. You can do anything that you set your mind to.
I think that's just brilliant advice for any young woman or woman wanting to carve out a career in the sports industry or an athlete transitioning. And on the subject of dreams, I think that brings me nicely to the video Protect Your Dream, which was the video for the league launch. Lauren, can you tell us the kind of mantra and vision behind the video, and then we'll cut to it in a moment?
Yeah, absolutely. Protect her dream. It's really protecting, the dream I had when I was a little girl. That starts even with little boys and little girls. They have that dream and they go through the high school process. They go through the signing process. College looks the same. You actually see the Women's College World Series just booming and blowing up, and oftentimes creating more viewership than the boys. And then you get to that final moment and you see that professional level is not available for the girl. So as a society, investing money and time and care and love into our young ones to get them to fall in love with the sport, and then turn around when they're women and they have a chance to make money and tell them, no more, right? Like we don't want to invest in this anymore. When it's not only a feel-good thing anymore, the numbers are there, the facts and the data of viewership are there. So it's no longer a feel-good story for these sponsors and donors and owners. It just makes sense. So going back to that, protect her dream, protect the dream that we helped invest in her heart.
Well, let's share to the world the video. Here it is.
Dad, I want to be a professional baseball player when I grow up. Dad, I want to be a professional softball player when I grow up.
I'm a professional baseball player now.
What about my dream?
Fantastic video, Lauren, and congratulations. I think that the whole world is with you and wants the dreams of every little girl to be protected and not crushed, because if the society is saying if you can see it and you can be it, then you can be it, to then not actually have that because it's not viable from a career choice because of the wages are not there, it's just not fair. And it does need addressing because it does make for a better workforce, a better society. And on the subject of what you refer to as funding and visibility, I don't know if you've heard of a company called The Space Between, but they're an agency in the UK, and they commissioned on the behaviours and attitudes of women's sports fans this week, and the findings came out that women's sports fans are twice as likely to recall brand sponsors than fans of men's sport, and they are 25% more likely to buy sponsor products than fans of men's sports, and 50% of women's sport fans strongly agree that brands should act with purpose and try to make the world a better place, compared to just 20% of men's sports fans. And these beliefs strongly influence the purchasing decisions of women's sports fans. And as we know, women make up most of the world's consumers.
They do.
At least half. And for the other half, we influence them on what they should spend their money on. What's your message to brands out there to get engaged in softball and the league and more widely in women's sports?
I kid you not, I came from my office and was just going over those same numbers that you were just talking about. And the biggest thing is understanding the fan now. And the fan now is a fluid fan. The Fan Project from Sports Innovation Lab did a huge study on this. The fluid fan looks for societal changes, right? We just dealt with global pandemic with COVID. You've got movements left and right. So that society piece, as well as the athletes being the entertainers. And then everything is online. Everything is in our hands. It's in our phone. And the crazy part is that women's sports fans have been on their phones long before the rest of the world caught up. The only visible way to watch women's sports was on your phones because we weren't on those big TVs. We weren't, broadcasted nationally, globally. It was all on the phones. So that connection, that loyalty that women's sports fans have to their athletes is tenfold. So that's when you start to see that brand recognition really fly when sponsors tie themselves to women's sports.
I think it is an exciting time for women's sports. I think COVID did hold us back, but I think now I can see it's raring to return and even stronger. I think there is a real appetite for it. How do we get more women watching women's sport? Rebecca and Lauren, what's your take on that? Starting with you, Rebecca.
Well, I agree with Lauren. I think every piece of information that we have right now, especially in the female, social media is where it's at. Our phone is in our hands 90% of the time. And I don't know if you guys experienced this yesterday, but the social media went down and that was a nightmare for some of us. That's how I engage with my fans and connect with them. And I drive off of social media. So we have to figure out a little loophole to get around that. But I agree with Lauren completely on what she said, that information is in our hands, and that's how you do that. You engage with those people, you respond, you let them know that you're a human being too, and that you have these same struggles so that you can help achieve their dreams too.
Lauren, your take on it?
Yeah, and I completely agree with Rebecca. The woman that's playing sports and the woman that's driving the consumer money, there's a channel for relatability there. There's a way that women can reach the woman that's sitting at home with not only her ability to play sports, because we are the top % of athletes, and that isn't relatable. But what is relatable is the deodorant I use, or the hairspray I use, or my activities outside of the field. Those relatable pieces within sports can translate. I mean, it can go through the TV and grab that woman that's sitting in the chair, and it's a lot more relatable than a quarterback on Sunday.
Yeah, we've got a whole market there And yeah, just I want to know what hairspray you're wearing, Lauren. We all want a bit of that.
Right.
No plugging allowed. But no, I think one of the things that really made me smile when preparing for the show, Lauren, was I read on your email a quote from Robin Williams that put a smile on my face, that you're only given a little spark of madness. You mustn't lose it. And certainly my husband would say, I certainly haven't lost my madness. Tell us why this quote is important to you and what your spark of madness is.
Oh, the spark of madness. I mean, why not go for it? That's always been my mantra, is someone's got to do it. Someone's got to be crazy enough to go for it. Rebecca, I'm sure you understand that too. Someone's got to be crazy enough to get in that monster truck and risk your life every time you go out there. I mean, if you're not going for hard things and you're not achieving that and having that little bit of madness to go for something, especially something that someone's told you can't do for so long and that can't be done, oh man, you just never know what you can accomplish. So I love that quote. I'm so glad you brought that up, because I almost forgot that was at the end of my email thread. I love that one.
Rebecca, what's your madness? We all think you're mad for getting in the truck. I think that actually not just mad, I think you're absolutely brave, but also a pioneer. And just, you know, I was shocked just to see you today, because as you said, you are on the petite side. So, you know, you've managed to transform everyone's expectations. Apart from the obvious, what is your bit of madness?
Oh, Katie. Well, you know, it's funny that you asked that. I don't know what my madness quite is, to be quite honest with you. I just get up every day and I strive to be better than the 1% that I was yesterday. And that's all I ask for out of myself. 1% better than yesterday. That is my goal. I have a team of men and women right now that I'm coaching in health and fitness to try and help them transform their lives to get them the best result that they can. And those people get me out of the bed every morning, because I want to show that you can travel. And I'm on the road every week of the year. This weekend, we're heading to another place, you know, and keeping myself healthy and fit and active. That is what drives me every day, for everyone to be able to see that you can also break that stigma. As in the sports industry, you know, we have a lot to do. Being an athlete is very important. Taking care of yourself, especially coming out of a global pandemic, is something so important. I think that everyone needs to understand. It's not just wake up in the morning and take your multivitamin pack. There's a lot more involved in doing that. And that's kind of things that drive me to get up every day.
So incremental 1% every day creates, you know, that 100%, you know, bad. Can I say badass? I'm going to say it. I've said badass. Badass girl.
You can totally say that.
Yes, apologies to my CEO. On moving on from that, on taboo subjects, enough of swearing. This week's US women's soccer shot to a standstill over the NWSL sexual assault, sexual harassment allegations, resulting in Lisa Baird, the commissioner, quitting. I want to get both of your take on that. First off, Lauren, you're now one of the first few female commissioners. We've just lost a female commissioner here. What's your take on these events? How could leadership how could leadership at the top have dealt with this better to prevent this happening? And how can we best protect female athletes from such abuses in the future?
One thing that I've seen a lot when these things happen and when big blow-ups happen, there was not something in place to start to protect the athletes. A lot of times it's backtracking. Now the NWSL wants to have a policy on sexual harassment. Now they want to have better, implementation of their rules. And that backtracking can't happen anymore. Luckily with WPF, it's early. We're in the early stages of developing those policies and procedures so that when something comes up, it's a swift action. You're out, you're gone. It's not we can bend to the rule and figure out a way to get you back into a coaching staff and another team. Long gone are those days. And I also think with our society, it's changed. Women are speaking up. Things are being talked about. It's not such a hush hush, men's world getting away with it anymore. And so having those policies and procedures up front, having a clear distinction between what's right and wrong, and then operating off of integrity and truth in your leadership. It's interesting as I go moving towards the top in this commissioner role, when more money is involved, things get tricky, but it shouldn't be tricky between right and wrong. And that depends on your leadership.
I think that goes absolutely to the heart of integrity. If you've got the integrity and the culture of integrity embedded, and obviously SIGA, we're a global movement, we're a coalition of like-minded organizations, and all of our mission is underpinned by a set of universal standards on good governance in sport, which we're encouraging sports organizations to adopt those standards to ensure that the policies are there from the start. And actually, interestingly enough, we have a task force in the US, which is dedicated to developing our fourth pillar on youth development and child protection, which deals with all of those things: recruitment, training, education, safeguarding of the athletes. So we are hoping and working towards getting those implemented by sports organizations. And I think it would be great to share those with you, Lauren, and also with the NWSL as a preventative measure, so that you can be accountable and know, exactly that you are measuring those procedures and that they are in place from the start, as you said, not as an afterthought. Or I mean, it is amazing really that the NWSL didn't have those policies from the beginning, especially when you're talking with female athletes, which are arguably more vulnerable than men, although it does happen in men's sports too. Rebecca, what's your take on this in the US, and what's your perception of how athletes are actually moving the needle by taking this stand and voicing these thoughts and making sure that the world does know it's not really their job to do that, but they are making these changes? Can athletes, change the needle in this respect?
Absolutely. I couldn't have said that better myself. Lauren did a phenomenal job of making sure that that was known. There's not even anything I can add to what she said, because she is spot on with that perception of those procedures and policies should have been in place from the get-go. There's no reason we should be backtracking on any of this. It should be in place from the get-go, because men and women can do the same task. We may be a little less stronger than them. We may not know all of the right ways or be accepted into what we're trying to do, but there's no reason that it shouldn't have been that way from the get-go.
Thank you both for your pertinent comments on that important and very sensitive topic. And our thoughts are with all of the victims of that, which to be perfectly honest, could have been avoided from the start if those policies and procedures had been in place. What is moving on to more kind of cheerier subjects, I wanted to ask you both, what is your biggest achievement to date in your careers, and what are you most proud of? Rebecca.
I would say that my biggest achievement so far has been winning a Titan Cup in a series that I never ever accepted or expected myself to win. I walked into my show series of January and February 2020 in Europe going against drivers, male drivers that had been in this sport for 10, 15 years. I walk in as a rookie with 3 sessions behind the wheel of a truck, and by the end of our show series, I took home the Titan truck trophy, which is a big achievement in our world. It just showcases your ability to drive and compete in multiple events in our show series to take home that win. And honestly, I never imagined, like I said, that I would ever win that trophy. Here I am into year 2 of my driving skills, and I have gotten so many compliments over the past few weekends from our show series about how far my driving ability has moved forward, which has been a big shock for me because of the global pandemic. I sat on the sidelines for quite a while trying to get back in the seat to do the show series, and it's been quite a challenge, but it's been a big achievement to be able to even just get behind the wheel at my size and stature to show that this can be done.
You're back and better than before, it seems like, Rebecca.
Absolutely.
Cheers all around. Lauren, yours. I mean, yours must be this week, but or last week being announced as a commissioner. But give us a couple more of your biggest achievements.
Yeah, that on paper, I would say commissioner for sure. But a personal victory for me that I'll never forget was making that tough decision to hang up the cleats at the right time. It was due to injury retirement. It was difficult, but to see the change and the true meaningful passion work that came afterwards. And when you play sports and you're so involved, it's so hard to kind of get your mind out of that realm and think bigger and think more progress and actually be able to implement change. So I think that that tough decision led me to some really incredible things, including this commissioner position. So a lot of achievements, and I love them. I think it's great to talk about those things and showcase that we are capable of so many great things. One of them being my ability to know when it was time to step into the business role.
I think that's absolutely fantastic, and just both of you, congratulations. It's been such an inspiring chat, and it's exactly what WOW is designed to do: celebrate, showcase and empower women in sports, to show what is possible and what women from all around the world are doing in all these very diverse roles. A couple of final questions from me. How important is integrity in developing a winning mindset? Lauren?
It's everything. It's what I operate off of. And I feel like if you have integrity in your heart and you do the right thing, you operate off of right and wrong, and you know that line, and you know that it's a fine line, then everything will come from your heart, and it's going to come from truth. I think it's easier to operate off of integrity, tell the truth, be intentional about what you're doing. It gets people on the same page as you, and it allows them to truly support what you're doing.
Fantastic. It's everything. I love that. You couldn't have summed it up better in those few words. Rebecca, for you, from an integrity perspective.
Absolutely. Yet again, I'll agree with Lauren. She has such a way with words, you guys. Man, she's inspiring me over here. I agree 100%. 10 out of 10. Integrity is where you come from the heart. It should be up in front, foremost, every time.
Brilliant. Right. Next question. What is your advice to other women who want to break the barriers and go on and do the same? What is the winning formula?
Oh, winning.
We've kind of answered that with integrity.
That's tough. That's tough. I would say the winning formula is that you have specific skill sets and you've been provided specific characteristics that nobody else has. And if you focus on what you bring to the table as opposed to what you don't, you will never lack in abundance. So continue to focus on who you are, what you bring, and your strengths.
Self-belief, I think, is also, encapsulated in what you said. Rebecca, over to you. 3 career tips for those wanting to carve out a leadership role in sport.
Absolutely. 1, never give up. 2, keep pushing yourself and be that 1% better than you were the day before. And 3, take care of yourself. I think it's so important for women to not alone take care of everyone else, because that's a lot of what we do in general, but you have to take care of yourself so that you can provide the best for the other people that you're trying to take care of.
Fantastic. I love that. Look after yourself. Lauren, your top 3. Can't go without yours.
Oh, top 3. Self-belief. Goes back to self-belief. Delegate, because we're not good at everything. That's something I've had to realize the last couple of weeks, is that, lean on people and have other people do things for you. And then 3 would be form your personal advisory group. I've been contacting strong women and men in my life that can really give me that perspective when I needed that phone call. It gets a little prideful when you try to do things by yourself. So having those good people in your corner is important.
Fantastic. Oh, thank you. You've been fantastic guests, and I'm sure that I will be ringing you both shortly to invite you to be part of the Global Female Mentorship Program that we're running, and also to extend the mentorship program to some of your own network. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And we have an awesome gift giveaway where you can win hot property, a t-shirt and a hat, merchandise from WPF. We've got the gift giveaway question. Over to Lauren, the new and first female commissioner of WPF. I'm going to keep on saying that and celebrating on behalf of all the women out there. Lauren, what is the gift giveaway question?
Okay, gift giveaway question. In which US city did softball originate?
We have an awesome gift giveaway with the chance to win, and it's a bit of a tongue twister. It's the Bigfoot Hot Wheels Midwest Madness collaboration Hot Wheels monster truck toy, a replica of Rebecca's truck. Rebecca, what is the gift giveaway question?
Well, today's question, Katie, is going to be, which truck did I switch from 2020 to 2021?
We have those 4 gift giveaway questions, 4 fantastic women, female leaders and athletes. And I'm delighted to announce the winners of the first section we've got for the FIBA merchandise, which was the signed ball and the awesome book. Teresa Pawanda is the winner. Congratulations, Teresa. Those will be coming straight to you. And for the second gift giveaway, we've got Claire Johnson's her book, The Naked Warrior, and it's Taryn Horner. Shout out to Taryn, one of our mentees. Delighted to be sending that to you. That's me holding it back in the summer as part of my summer reading. And we're going to move very quickly onto the final slot, which is our regular feature for SIGA's Man of the Month. This is a male who is someone in the industry who's pushing forward the female leadership agenda in sport. And this month, our Man of the Month has been nominated by a great supporter of SIGA. Her name's Angela LaChica. She's the president and the CEO of LaChica Sports and Entertainment Limited. Angela, tell us who you've nominated.
Hello, my name is Angela LaChica, and it is my honor to nominate NFL star, New Orleans Saints linebacker, and overall humanitarian Demario Davis as this month's Male of the Month. Demario is a tireless humanitarian who constantly uses his platform for change, impacting communities and citizens across the globe. What most people don't know about Demario, though, however, is that he's a huge advocate and male champion for women in the sports industry behind the scenes. He surrounds himself with women leaders who are empowered with decision rights and making abilities on his behalf of all of his community endeavors, which is a huge honor and a huge advocate in the space. We need more men like Demario leading the way both on and off the field. We thank him for everything that he's done to empower females around the globe. Thank you so much, and congratulations, Demario.
Thank you, Angela, and a big congratulations to Demario. Thank you for all that you do for women in sport, on and off the field. And we will be posting your Man of the Month card on social media. We are closing the show. We haven't announced the final two winners, but watch out on social media for that hot truck and for the WNPF winning merchandise. We will be announcing it on social media. I'm just getting a text about that from my colleague. And just to say a big thank you to everybody watching, our global audience, and the continued support and participation of all the female leaders out there. I think today we did get a sense of what a winning mindset is. And certainly I will be putting into practice that 1% extra a day, courtesy of Rebecca's advice. Our next SIGA Wow is coming out on the 3rd of November. Stay tuned, this year is flying. Thank you and goodbye.